Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So what we're going to get to is we're going to just share information about water. Obviously, Colette and I have, met Nuno Nina, and one of the questions or requests I'll ask of all of you is please keep an open mind to the information we're going to present. Our truth is our truth, your truth is yours. But what we're here to point out is, certain questions that you may ask when it comes to choosing the choice of water for yourself. And so, I've found that in the last couple, or I would say the last year, I've had to empty my head of prior knowledge that I have learnt. And I've got decades of knowledge in there that when I caught up with Nuno, I'm like, this information's conflicting, Nuno. But he said, okay, are you willing? Are you willing to allow this new information in? Because with increased consciousness, with increased awareness comes new knowledge. And do you want to do the same thing? And I found that with what I was currently doing, I was not getting the results that I was seeing. So for me, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I was ready. I was hungry for new information, new technology, and new ways of thinking. So please, this will be a discussion, hopefully, to get you to start thinking about water in a very completely different way. So, we can start off with, Colette, what is water? Or just in terms of, should we talk about the different types of water?
Yeah. Let's just start, it's in our home, it's coming out of our faucets. And I bet majority of the people who are probably going to be watching this are drinking the water from their fridge filter.
Absolutely. And I think the main thing we want to point out is, look, water is extremely important for your body. My belief and my point of view is that you are what you drink before you are what you eat. Because the water, we are pretty much made up of 99.9% water, which we just found out over the week as well. And so water is involved in every single process of our body. We are made up of water. So if you think about ourselves, and the analogy that I like to use is we're fish tanks. And if we don't have the best water in our bodies, then what happens, and think of our organs as the fish. The organs are going to suffer pretty much, aren't they? If you think of a dirty fish tank, the fish aren't going to really survive in that environment. So water, being the environment of our body, is one of the most important things we get right for our health. It's like literally a non-negotiable for me. So, and I know in my line of practice, I've seen many people that have had amazing nutrition, but because they hadn't had the water right, they've still been unwell. So in relation to water and what's coming out of our taps, I think the key thing we want to point out is that a lot of countries are putting chemicals into the water. And we know that, we had a global representation in Portugal in the last week, and everyone said, yeah, there are chemical additives that the government's added to the water, into our tap water. So from our perspective, we recommend not drinking tap water because it does have lime scale, it's got, metals, it's got those harmful chemicals, chlorine, fluoride, pesticides. There's a whole lot of stuff that are found in tap water that we wouldn't highly recommend. So we don't want to put our bodies under that unnecessary stress. Anything else you want to add, Colette, to just plain tap water?
Yeah, and same with all the things that are added in, but then also thinking of how old the piping systems are that water is pumping through. So that, as well as the leaching of extra heavy metals. And where I live in South Florida, you can tell when they treat the water, because if I run a bath for my children and it hasn't been treated in a while, it kind of has a bit of a brackishy look. But then in the water that's treated, it's blue like chlorine, and you're like, oh, like let's not soak in that tonight,
No. And what sometimes when I'm like in a really desperate situation, and this is very rare, and if I've had a bit of a tap water, my body now just can taste it's just the chemically constitution of it, and it's just like, oh God, it is like it's some lethal stuff. That's all I can say. So we'd probably say, look, if you are drinking tap water and that's your only choice, probably look at just a filter that you can run it through that can at least take out a majority of those harmful chemicals.
Right. All right. So then next, other people in their homes will probably have RO water, reverse osmosis water. So reverse osmosis is actually when it is stripping and taking all the chemicals but also all the minerals and everything out. And then it makes the dead water. So what would you have to say about that?
Look, I would say, and I'm sure, Nuno agrees too, it's dead water. So RO or distilled water, the main difference between the two, distilled water is what they say is the most purest form of water with nothing in there. Like it's literally boiled and the evaporation's caught and it's like there's nothing in there. It's dead water, but RO is pretty much similar. There might be a tiny little bit of mineral content in it, but it is like negligible. So they're both considered dead water. And there's pros and cons to it. Some people that really need a detox in terms of heavy metals and contaminants from their body might say, look, I'm going to have a course of distilled water to really just get things out of my body. But long term, what it does is it leaches out electrolytes from your body. If there's no mineral content in the water, and again, we'll talk about that because there's a healthy ratio in terms of when we talk about minerals. We don't want too much, but we don't want hardly anything in there either. So you've really got to be mindful of, the long-term use of RO and distilled water. It may be great for a short-term specific reason, but long-term, it's actually probably not going to do your health any good because it's probably going to leach out things from your system that you don't want to. A lot of people think that, oh, well, I'll have distilled water or RO water and then I'll add my own minerals. But my point of view in terms of that is that you're mucking around with nature. We're sort of then taking control of how much our body needs and how much it doesn't. And I just feel like there's some room for error there. So yeah, we've got to be mindful of the minerals that we're adding in. So my point of view, I'm not here to say yes or no, but just ask yourself the question, why am I using this water? And again, we'll get to the properties that you want to look at. With RO and distilled, there's no mineral content, and that could sometimes pose a risk, long term.
So actually, before we had a townhouse and we had put in a RO system underneath the sink to drink because I did not like the taste of the tap water, even though it was going through the fridge filter. So we did that and did the RO, but I didn't know about the dead water part of it for years. I probably still would be drinking it. But one summer, my son, he was like 2, we were in Austria and I found these drinking crystals. And at this point, I didn't believe in energy and I didn't know what frequencies were, but I knew I loved crystals. And so I'm like, okay, I'll just put it in the water. And so that was my first time actually experiencing imprinting of the water, what crystals, because of the minerals that were leaching out from the crystals. And I noticed you could, if I let it sit in there all day and I could taste a difference and things like that. And at the time I was adding in like fulvic sea minerals and stuff to like my green shakes. But, it makes a little more sense to me of, even though I was, mostly vegan, working out constantly, having all of these superfoods, but constantly peeling my lips, constantly still looking dry and like sunken in, right? And it was like, like I said, the adrenals is messing with me.
And it's not the most hydrating water, to be honest with you. So that's probably why you're feeling like, yes, I'm adding all of this, but I'm still feeling my mouth is dry and I'm just, I just can't quench my thirst. So yeah, that's one effect of the dead water, that it doesn't really quench or hydrate your body as well as, say, the other type of waters or the properties that we're going to talk about. Yeah.
We did have a quick discussion prior to this, and we were talking about like Brita filters, or I'm sorry, any fridge filters, pitchers that we could use. And those, you said those are not removing the chemicals from the water.
So just be mindful of, a lot of filters will say we're removing chemical substances, and they won't. So a lot of filters generally take out lime scale, the pesticides, the dirt, and they'll take out some of the chemicals, but they'll say, so it removes chemical products, but they will not highlight what they are. And often, yes, they do take out, certain harmful chemicals, but the ones that we're most concerned about is, your fluoride and your chloride, they're often not taken out. So please be mindful whenever you're asking about filters, under the sink filters or filtration systems, ask, does it take out fluoride? Does it? That's probably one of the key questions that I would ask, because not many of them do.
And we're not here to talk on the topic of fluoride, but I know
No,
that
we're
here
not.
in America
People
that
can,
it's a very
yeah,
common thing. And I mean, it wasn't even until a few years ago that my husband actually shared it with my best friend's husband, who's a doctor, and he's like, no, but he went and started researching, and he's like, oh, okay, so we shouldn't be, So again, we're just encouraging you people to take the time to just question and learn a bit more for yourself about what these chemicals can do to yourself and to your children.
absolutely. And, we're going to have maybe a group of dentists that listen to this, and we know fluoride in terms of relation to teeth and enamel. But again, when we're looking at, the whole body as an ecosystem, there's other ways we can really look after the health of our teeth, for example. And all we know is that fluoride, please do your we're just here to point out that it's probably not, it's a chemical that, again, is probably not going to be the most conducive to your well-being and health long-term. There's been lots of research about it in terms of well-being, in terms of autoimmune, in terms of just cellular health. So just go ahead and do your research. And the question you can ask when it comes to filters, does it remove fluoride or does it not?
Right. Okay. So there is a huge community, and even myself, when you're in the grocery store and you need to pick up a bottle of water. And so my top picks here in America would have been, I like the way it used to be Smart Water. I love the way Smart Water tastes. They say it comes from clouds, which we know it's not coming from clouds, people. Or now I'm choosing like the alkaline water, the essential, not, I think it's like I don't know what it is, what pH it is, but like, oh, okay, everyone says alkaline water. I've been following these influencers who live in these lifestyles. They are, drinking in tons of alkaline water. But you were drinking tons of alkaline water.
I was. Look, hand up confession. Again, part of my work, and I'll get into why it's so relevant to speech pathology and why it's so important that I look at water and drinking the best water. I was drinking alkaline water for the last 7 years. I stopped drinking it in the last 2 years specifically because it was actually, I was noticing certain side effects of, just certain ill health with my gut. And I'm going, this is a bit unusual. So I looked into it a bit more. And again, that's where my journey led on to finding out more about alkaline water and then eventually catching up with the scientists and the physicians like Nuno, who then expanded my mind about alkaline water. And I am so forever grateful. All I'm saying, again, this is my point of view. It is science and research backed, and people can, again, do their own research. But my recommendation is, having used alkaline water and having known that, yes, it started off, it felt great. And I'll give you the reasons why it feels really amazing when you start drinking it, and then long-term, the effects are not as great for your body. I intuitively stopped it 2 years ago, as I said, because it started affecting my gut. Now, with alkaline water, the reason why people say, oh my God, this is the way to go, there's this conception out there that, alkaline's great. Like, we have acidic bodies, the body's going to create disease. And then if we pump in alkaline water, that'll balance it out and it helps promote good health, et cetera, et cetera. Now, we all need to be aware that generally our bodies, the environment of our bodies or the fluid of our bodies is generally a little bit acidic. So we've got to keep that into perspective. Also, too, our stomach, for example, is the door, or sort of say the gateway between the outside world and our inside world. So when we're drinking and eating, it's our stomach's job to assimilate that and then to have our body receive that nutrition or that information. Now, I'm pointing that out because what alkaline water does, and if you think of the stomach, it's very acidic. When we're drinking alkaline water at a pH of, I was drinking it at a pH of 8.5, mind you, what it's doing is it's disrupting what the stomach will do, and in terms of its assimilation. So what it does is it disrupts the digestive process. And what that does long term, it leads to a number of different things. Now, in my case, it was my gut health. So I was getting a lot of bloating. I wasn't getting proper digestion. And I'll explain in a reason why. The other thing, too, is in my line of work as a speech pathologist, not only do we look at speech, but we also look at swallowing and voice. And what actually sometimes impacts on swallowing and voice is what we call gastroesophageal reflux disorder, or reflux. And that's a huge common problem or condition that people have in society, and they don't know why. Now, one of the reasons why, obviously, nutrition has a big factor, and there's some other, other reasons why. But one of them is also the fact that we're drinking alkaline water and we're completely disrupting the digestive process, and the mechanism behind, the valves opening up and closing and doing its job, and one part of the one part of the digestion system, receiving it and passing it on to the other. So it's a complex process, and all I'm saying is that alkaline water disrupts this process. So please look into it. So from my point of view, is that I stay far away from it now. We can have a lot of beautiful foods that are grown in nature that we can eat that has a really great, acidic or alkaline profile. We don't need to have specific water. And the reason why also I wouldn't choose to use alkaline water, say from a filter, is because the electrolysis process, when they actually produce the alkaline water, they sort of electrocute the water to separate, the hydrogen and the oxygen, and that process. And there's certain filters that I know that use a high voltage, and that's not good for the water. Again, long term, it's just be mindful of, what you're putting into and what effects it can have. Now, the question or the answer that I have to people going, well, Narae, no, I swear to God, alkaline water has really turned my life. It's made everything amazing, because I started off like that too. I would say the first 1 to 2 years. But what I'm going to point out is probably the benefits that you're getting from the alkaline water is because of the ALP factor. So oxidation reduction potential. What that simply means is the quality of the water. So yes, these filtration systems produce alkaline water, but they also clean up the water. So you're probably just getting those beautiful benefits of health because the water's just generally being cleaned up, and it's a huge contrast to the tap water you're drinking. So it's not the actual pH that's changing your health. It's just the removal of the contaminants that's probably improving your health in the first instance.
So ORP, what did you say it was?
Oxidation reduction potential, and we'll talk about that because that's one of the 5 properties that we want to be aware of, and we'll go briefly through it towards the end of what you need to tick off when you're choosing a water. Yeah.
Okay, so the alkaline systems is using a machine that, if you have a machine or if you buy water. So typically when you see them at the store, what is the pH of what they're consisting to be a drinkable alkaline water?
Well, anything above 7 is considered alkaline. 7's neutral. So anything below 7 is considered acidic, and anything above 7 is alkaline. But a lot of the products have got probably 8 and above, 8.5. There's some that I've seen at 9.5, and that's just like, oh my God, like that's a bit scary because I'm just, again, my lenses have changed, and I'm like, putting that in your body, oh God, I couldn't even imagine what that's going to do to your digestion.
Yes. And I was at lunch with my friend, or our friend, Dr. Michelle Patrick, and she had a really great analogy for me to think on, was that, thinking of our gut as like the inferno, right? Its job is to break everything apart. And, and so if we are pouring stuff to put the fire out, it's not going to be able to get rid of the food. Right.
Well, and that was one of my symptoms. I was bloated, and I'm going, oh, I'm so healthy. What's going on here? Like, I'm just bloated all the time. I was just putting my poor digestion under stress. And luckily I had a level of health where, that was short-lived, you know what I mean? But again, it was a discomfort I had daily. And I'm like, oh, look into this. This is just not right. So again, your body is your barometer, people. Please listen to it. It communicates with you every day. And if there is something that's not quite right, ask questions, seek the answers. That's all I encourage you to do.
Did you have more you wanted to talk on alkaline water? We transgress into the fun part?
Just please think twice before drinking alkaline water. And like, again, there's a lot of research supporting the fact that, its impact on digestion is something that, again, I don't choose to. I've packed away my filtration system, and I don't, I've tossed it out, to tell you the truth. I don't even have the heart to pass it on to anyone that I know. So
the process of the electrolysis, it also can be dirty, right? It also can lead to leaking heavy metals and things like that. So depending on the alkaline system that you're using, there's plenty out there. So just if you decide to invest in that, make sure you do that type of research as well, of what it's made of, what the components are. These are all important things to be thinking about.
And exactly, and the voltage as well. Don't underestimate, like, so the voltage, the electricity used to, separate the molecules, because, if you use a high voltage, that's going to impact the water. And the other thing too is, if you do have a filtration system, please keep on top of changing the filters and keeping it clean. That's probably one of the most important things. You don't want, to be using the same filter year after year. You've got to be diligent in changing, the equipment to keep it at its optimum state.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. So now we're going to start talking into molecular hydrogen. And this sounds like we're going to be getting into some nerdy old science.
Oh my God, molecular hydrogen. It's just, honestly, I could geek on this all day. And it has just been a game changer in my life, in my work. And I want to just stress too that I speak from experience, because I've been on molecular hydrogen for a couple of months, and I had my own specific protocols that I was addressing. And all I can say is that your body does not lie. It's just been incredible. And we'll talk about, the properties and the benefits of molecular hydrogen. Also, if you are choosing a molecular hydrogen vessel, ours is a life-giving vessel. This is the old prototype. The new one's coming out in the next week or two. But please be mindful of, what to look for. So we just want you to really, be educated in terms of, water, what type of water you're choosing. And if you're going to be choosing even molecular hydrogen, what to look for. So
in my field, in the whole world of biohacking, biohackers want the new, the best of the best. And typically it's where new or very old technologies are brought back and shown, because like the world of frequencies is nothing new. We have the founding fathers back in the early 1900s doing frequency medicine. It's just been suppressed for a very long time. And so biohackers always want to have the newest of new things. And I have been seeing over the course of past 3 years, I've been in the field, different things of hydrogen popping up. And I have been taking a hydrogen tab that I drop in my water and I drink it. And I, maybe if I had a drink or two the night before, I would drink it, make me feel awake. But otherwise, I didn't really understand why I chose to take hydrogen. I just knew if that person's taking hydrogen, I'm going to take hydrogen. So that was my understanding of hydrogen. And then when this whole world was presented to me, and just a few short months ago, of course, I had to go down the rabbit hole. And so I am excited because Neray has, been already doing this types of research and has already been on her hydrogen protocol now for months. So let's just start by talking about hydrogen and what it is and why it's important for us to have.
Look, I want to keep this very simple because, we could have a PhD in water. Seriously, we could literally have a PhD in water. So we're going to keep it very simple, and hopefully this will really hit home and make sense. But when you think of hydrogen is like the first molecule, on our periodic table. It is what the universe is made of. It is what we are made of. And, we can get into the depths of, there's different types of hydrogen. But the main one that we're going to be talking about today is molecular hydrogen. So like the hydrogen gas that we produce, in the bottles. And there are many benefits. Now, what I want to stress is, in summary, molecular hydrogen, the way I see it is it's an intuitive molecule. So what it does is when you ingest it, it goes to the part of your body and it helps harmonize that area, so to speak. So what it does is it works with, many of you might have heard of the terrain theory. It works with the environment of your body and it brings that into harmonization so that then your body and your organs and your genes can express the most beautifully that they can. So it's really just, there is no thought process involved in this. You drink it and it's going to be doing the magic. It's going to go to For example, my personal experience with my body is that I used it specifically for adrenal fatigue, because I'm a single mama on the go, juggling, 6 million plates, got a busy practice, and I just needed support with my adrenals. And the other one was blood as well, so anemia. I had, on and off of, just suffering from iron. And I could comfortably say the differences that I've seen. So in my body, the molecular hydrogen intuitively knew to go and harmonize those areas. And I could say now that I'm going to sleep without passing out. Like, I'm actually dripping into a delicious sleep now. And so I've noticed that change. And I've also stopped any form of iron that I've been taking. I have not taken iron for the last 4 months, I would say. And my energy is through the roof, meaning that I just feel like I've got this ever-ready battery in me. And I'm just like going, oh my God, like the only difference that I did, and I specifically chose to only do the water, so that I can say, yes, it was as a result of this. And so I could comfortably say it's really made a big, big difference when it comes to my energy in terms of my iron, my adrenals, and made a huge difference in my life in that respect. So thank you to molecular hydrogen. It just goes to where it needs to go. So you don't need to go, all right, I've got to do this plus other things to target my thyroid or nah, just drink the water and let it do its magic. That's literally in a nutshell.
So the hydrogen molecule is extremely tiny and it's very hard to harness. And so people are probably questioning, well, why haven't we been educated on this yet? And so, like, when we say it's tiny, it's like, it's called the miracle molecule for a reason, because it's so small. It can break through your cell membranes. It can break through and find exactly where it's needing to go. And that's the beauty behind it. So let's talk about, why have we not really had this expansion or education into molecular hydrogen yet?
Absolutely. And I think the main reason why is because people could not contain hydrogen, molecular hydrogen. So because it's, like you said, a very small molecule, people would produce it, but they could not then contain it and house it in a specific container. Or even if there were devices out there, for example, they would produce the molecular hydrogen, but within minutes, the hydrogen would disappear. So really the therapeutic benefits would not be long lasting, it would not be as effective. What we found with Nuno is he's an amazing physician, God, creator, and he's been able to create a vessel that can produce molecular hydrogen, and testing has shown that it's still in the bottle at really great levels even 2 hours after you've produced it, and sometimes even after 24 hours. But what he recommends is you produce it and within half an hour drink it so you can get the best quality. But he's a genius when it comes to being able to house it. Obviously, there's other things we can talk about too, but there are vessels out there that, yes, are producing it, but one, they can't contain it. The other two, the reason why this hasn't been really out there is because the process has been dirty. Producing molecular hydrogen can be a very, very dirty process, and there's a lot of byproducts that we don't want our body to sort of have as a result. And again, Nuno's Technologies is one of the first to be able to produce molecular hydrogen water by separating the dirty process or the dirty byproducts from the actual pure molecular hydrogen in different chambers. And that's one of a kind. So when we're drinking from the bottle, you're getting pure molecular hydrogen. You don't get all the other byproducts that our body doesn't really like.
Yeah, because what's the point? Because then you're drinking.
What's the point? Exactly.
Anyway.
And I think that's why, people in the past have tried hydrogen water. They probably haven't got the full benefits because they've also had dirty, contaminants and byproducts as a result. So it's sort of been a wishy-washy sort of, ingestion and results. Whereas I could comfortably say that, what I'm drinking is pure and its impacts are immediate and I can feel it. And there's no doubt, like I can feel the hydration in my body. And that's the other thing too, is the secondary product, not that I was really looking at this symptom, but I've noticed that I'm drinking and not peeing as much. So I know my cells are absorbing, the water, and my skin, just the hydration in my skin. So I know my cells are saying, yes, finally, you know, we are getting proper hydration. Whereas in the past, I'd drink 2 to 3 liters and I feel nauseous. And you know, half of it, I'm sure I was peeing out most of it. And I was, when I met Nuno, he confirmed I was chronically dehydrated. And that was a shock to me. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm drinking 2 to 3 liters a day. What's going on? But clearly I wasn't choosing the best water.
No, I totally agree. I had found I got these drops one time from a functional doctor, and they're called Rehydrate. And so basically you drop them in and it was supposed to then allow your cells to actually absorb. And now I don't really understand the whole process behind his theories of this, but that was probably one of the only other times that my constant lip peeling stopped. Now, I have gotten to drink the hydrogen water that we're speaking about. I drank it while we were in Madeira. We only had one of the vessels available for 88 beautiful souls to share. So I didn't get to drink it that much, but I've actually been run down the past 48 hours and very sick. And I'm telling, I had bought some decent water when I came home. I had a friend come back with me from Madeira and we're like, let's get some good water. And so he's like, okay, here's the good water, what to drink, which we'll discuss some of the better waters in America. And you can share some in New Zealand and Australia in a little bit. But I was just telling Ray that it's like, I cannot get enough water. It's like nothing's quenching. My lips are just so dry. Like just everything feels so dry right now. And it's almost like my body knows it's coming. It's going to be in my house soon. And just to hold.
Hey, I'm so excited. Like, I'm so excited for all of us that have, you know, obviously purchased the you know, this life-giving vessel, I call it. And oh my God, you're not going to know what hit you. Like, it's just, and I got the old prototype. The new bottle obviously has added features, which we won't go into, but it's just, I'm so excited for everyone listening to this. If you do look into it, like, honestly, if you are asking the question of what's the best water out there, hands down, don't look any further. Really look into molecular hydrogen water, and please consider looking at our gorgeous vessel that's been created by Nuno, for sure.
So you said there's 5 pillars.
Yes.
That you were talking about. Let's talk about the 5 pillars of what we should be looking at.
Yeah, let's quickly go through them. And again, it's, you know, I'm just going to go through them and just so that you're aware of what to tick off when choosing water and what questions to ask. And look, the 5 properties, you don't need a physics or science degree in this, but I will go through and just give you a very general sort of definition for each. But the 5 properties are RH2. We've got the pH. We've got the hydrogen content, we've got the TDS, total dissolved solids, and we've got the oxidation reduction potential. Now, please don't, you know, stress out. Like, if you just even maybe went on, talked about, you know, Googled 5 properties of water, or even if you went to Nuno Nina's Academy, you know, he talks a lot about these properties. But the bottom line is, let's go through to the first one, RH2. That's the electrical factor of the water that we're looking at. The pH is the magnetic factor that we look at. The hydrogen content, obviously it's important to have a good level of hydrogen in the water. And what we're looking at is, so if we go up to RH2, we're looking at anything below 10. If we're looking at the pH, what Nuno suggests is slightly acidic. So between, I would say, optimum 6 to 6.5. In terms of the hydrogen levels in the water, so parts per million we're looking at around about 1.2, 1.4. In terms of the TDS value, so total dissolved solids, that's the amount of minerals in the water. We're looking at a level of between 20 and 60. And these are the ranges that we're looking at, so we can have the best water with the right amount of everything in there that's going to serve our body the best. And the last one is the OR factor, so oxidation reduction potential. And the reason what we want is a negative score. So what that simply means is that's the quality of the water. So when we have a negative oxidation reduction potential, it just means it's got better quality. It's a better quality water, and there's more antioxidant-like effects. So if we have a positive oxidation reduction potential, stay away from it. So they're just some basic things to be aware of. And what Nuno, the range that we sort of recommend in terms of oxidation reduction potential is, you know, minus 400 to 650. Again, reach out to I'm happy for anyone to reach out if you want very specifics. Again, you can always go to, Nuno. Nuno is the most amazing, creative genius and knowledgeable in terms of water. He's created this water because really our water sources, even from nature, have been contaminated. So he's trying to create a water that our body will resonate with, most. So, and these properties are extremely important to consider if you want to be ingesting the best of the best for your body.
I love that.
That's not like a really quick,
Yes.
but we could get into it very in depth, but it can be quite confusing. But the gist of the story is please look at those 5 properties and ask questions when it comes to looking at a particular system in relation to those 5 properties.
And I want to just highlight something as well, that because we discussed on the mineral content. Now, there are a lot of different ways you can test your water. So once we're finished with this, I will go back into the chat. I'm going to put in some studies that Nuray has shared in regarding alkaline water and what it does to the body. We'll share some hydrogen ones, and then also we'll share some at-home tests. So, I mean, again, we are asking you to be curious, to test your water, right? Test some other bottles of water to see the quality of what it is. And so, because there is a simple ppm test, part per million test, that these blue drops you could put in. There's a couple different devices that you can get to test your water's pH. What was the other one that Patrick was?
TDS levels. You can also get,
So, and I think he got most of these on Amazon. And I'm just reading some of the comments we have coming in on Facebook. Yes, Vanessa, we discussed how bad the RO is, and that I was also adding in my minerals to mine when I was drinking RO for many years. Now I spoke about the tablets because I think there's quite a few people that probably already are utilizing hydrogen tablets. And so that there's, maybe you can explain it a bit better. From my understanding is that, yes, it's creating hydrogen. And if you were to test it with the blue drops per parts per million, it will show that there's hydrogen in it. But the way that that is made is not absorbable by your body.
That's the key point you've just made, is that what Nuno's done is tested a range of hydrogen tablets, and we're talking like the top range in the market, and he's just proven that our body cannot absorb it. So we're taking these tablets and peeing them out, So yeah, they're not our body's not absorbing it. So that's probably the main thing that you want to consider if you are going to purchase a tablet. And also too is just before even getting to a tablet again, and what type of water are you taking that tablet with? Does that make sense? There's a lot of factors involved. And again, we've been talking about, we've been drinking water and we haven't actually been really hydrated. So if you're taking tablets with water that's not really getting into your cells and hydrating you, what's the point, and that's why my thoughts in terms of supplements have really, really changed in terms of the types of supplements that I'm taking, that I'm really mindful now of, okay, is this supplement, am I just going to pee this out? Or is this something that's going to, really, my body will, take up? So a lot of questions to ask. We're just throwing out a few things for you to be really aware of.
And other things that I would, suggest to people if you do decide to take a journey into molecular hydrogen for yourself or your family, is to get tested. So you can do a test called live blood dark microscopy. And what they do is they would draw some of your blood, and it's a live blood analysis. So they can actually see the movement with inside your blood. They can see the stagnation, they can see inflammation. And then if you decide to bring some hydrogen water, you could drink from your vessel multiple times and then have them do this analysis again. And people are seeing instant results, instant stagnation, dissipating, inflammation, releasing. And typically you could try to find someone to do this at a holistic center, or just Google it online. But and hydrogen, because it is a sneaky sucker, because it is so small, it can be very unique in the way it's going to get to work first. So we have had friends that someone started to get flushed straight away. And the inventor behind the water bottle vessel that we say, Nuno Nina, he said that was because this person who experienced this flushing was because they were having poor circulation. And so the blood was actually finally flowing through. So when I drank the water for the first time last week, I felt it immediately go up to my third eye and just open and expand my mind. We were in the middle of doing a very deep meditation when it was my turn to get the bottle. So I think it was just allowing me to tap back in. And I also did really I got the chills. Like I was cold to the bone. So I'm very curious to know like what that means. But like we have said, everybody has a very different experience because the molecule knows where it needs to go to work.
Absolutely. And that's such a great point that you've said, that everyone's experience, whether they have a visceral experience, whether they don't feel anything, just know that, your body will respond the way it's going to respond. But just trust that the miracle molecule, call it the God molecule, will go to where it needs to go to. And, in summary, we know molecular hydrogen, it has antioxidant effects, anti-inflammatory effects, anti-allergic effects, anti-aging effects. And when you think about it, the main reason why it has those amazing effects is in real simple summary terms, it's oxidative stress. It really helps, us manage that. And so it's just a game changer in lots of ways, not only just for your physical body, for your mental body as well, in lots of ways.
And we actually haven't even talked about like the thousands of studies that are out there that are peer-reviewed studies about molecular hydrogen that you can Google and you can find. And, we've been saying that up to 170 of the world's diseases can be alleviated by increasing and utilizing molecular hydrogen. So I was actually on the phone with my friend in Dubai, talking to him about this because he has his own biohacking clinic, and I knew he was already really into hydrogen. And I was, talking to him about it, and he goes, "Actually, Colette, they're now saying 220, not 170." And he's like, this is probably one of the best things that you could get your hands on right now. And he said that, especially for like in my network and what I'm doing in the biohacking space, is that it's geared to be a $67 billion industry by 2027.
Oh, just again, like I said, there's no doubt in terms of it. This is already $1 billion industry, but what I think, it's a revolution, having been in the health system, and I wouldn't even call it a health system. And I'm really going to be vulnerable here and say we had a sick care system, and I've worked in that sick care system, and hence my frustration to a lot of the protocols. And that's why I've always been on a journey of self-mastery and inquiry and going, yes, there's got to be something out there. And when I came across, the terrain theory, and when I came across, I always look at the root cause of things. And when I came across this, it was a no-brainer. And like I said, it's just the beginning of people being educated with this. And like you said, what's to come, we can't even imagine it. We can't even fathom. Like, honestly, once the education's out there, once people get a direct experience of ingesting this pure quality water, again, the vessel you use is extremely important. It's going to speak for itself. We won't need to do any of the speaking at all. But I just know that when people get their hands on this, it's going to be transformational, like you said, not only in terms of health-wise, but in relation to what this industry is going to be worth. Oh my God, it's going to be a disruptor to a lot of industries.
I know. And I see it, I feel it within my body. And I'm very thankful to be on this journey with you. And thank you so much for spending your afternoon with me, all the way down under. And
thank you, Colette. And, thank you for, being, an inspiring mama. And just like you said, like attracts like. It was just amazing to connect, in the last week that we did. and, you know, really bringing, you know, our mission is to bring this information out to the world. And, you know, I'm just so grateful to be co-creating with you and other amazing beings. And this is what we're, you know, what I'm here, and I know we're here for. So please reach out, anyone, if you have any questions. This is, you know, fairly new, but, you know, we're committed to this. This is part of our mission for sure. We're co-creating with Nuno to bring this out into the world and get this into the hands of as many people that, you know, really are about well-being in all aspects.
Absolutely. So if you guys enjoyed what we talked about this evening and your mind is getting curious, you're like, wait, I don't have enough information. Please, I need some more. Don't worry. We have a lot of information that we can share with you. So whether you're viewing this from Nure's Facebook or my own, or maybe someone said, hey, check this out. So reach out to those people who shared this with you. We have a lot of content that we can share with you to dive in more about molecular hydrogen, to learn more about this mission and this project that Nure and I are taking on at the moment as well. We're very happy. As you see, we're leading with our heart. We're wanting to just educate you all and let you guys be on the forefront of something as well, right? My mission is to truly help our future generations and and the families, so these little ones, you know, can have the knowledge, can have that questioning mind, and that can make a stand for their health and their food and what they put into their body.
Absolutely. And I just want to just end on this note, because we are so passionate about this project and mission, because there is a different way of doing things. And please know that we've all been on our own, you know, Colette and I have been on our own health journeys, but know there is a different way. Know there are different possibilities when it comes to your health and well-being in all and abundance, you know. So please reach out if you have any questions, any queries, if this has pulled at you at a certain in a certain way. If we've shared information that's triggered you, still please reach out, you know. So just, yeah, in any way, we welcome any questions.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you, Nure, and enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you
Thank
to
you
all of
so
our
much.
friends for spending time with us. Have a great
Thank
night.
you. Bye, everyone. Bye.